Hello, it's time for another story time from Japanese history. Now, this is another story that has been retold so many times and in so many ways, and you probably have seen a reference to it. We are back in the Boshin War for this story, so we are right at the end of the Edo era and transitioning into the Meiji era. And at this point, the Imperial Restoration, the Meiji troops have won and are moving on Aizu, which is an area that is remaining loyal to the shogun even after the shogun's surrender, and so they're coming to quell this rebellion. Now in Aizuwakamatsu, there are 4 military units, and these are named the Genmutai, the Seirutai, the Suzukutai, and the Byakkotai. And if those sound familiar, yes, these are indeed the 4 cardinal directions, the 4 elements, the dragon, the turtle, the bird, and the white tiger is the Byakkotai. Now the Byakkotai is supposed to be a reserve unit. It's made entirely of teenage boys, so these are not supposed to be front lines troops. But the battle doesn't go well. During the Battle of Tonoguchihara, about 20 of the boys are separated from the rest of their forces, and they are trying desperately to get back to Aizuwakamatsu, their town, and they're trying to get through without being caught by Imperial troops. Because they know the area, because they're kids who played here, they know that there's a water supply cut through a hill or a mountain, depending on how you would like to translate it. And they actually travel through that to get around the Imperial forces. Now I'm telling you, I looked at this and there's no way I would want to crawl through that. But on the other hand, no one was shooting at me either, so I guess motivation. So they escape through this water passage and they come out on Iomori. So Iomori Yama is a hill or a mountain. It's a small mountain or big hill, whatever you'd like to call it. And as they're standing on the slope of Iomori, and they're looking down, and we have a statue today to show where they looked down across the town, and all they see is smoke and fire and chaos, and they're looking toward their castle, and it's just an awful picture, and they're, oh no, the castle has fallen, our lord is dead, our families are dead, there's nothing to go back to, there is nothing to fight for. Now, in fact, the castle had not fallen. The castle was fine. The castle town was on fire. So that was this flame and smoke that they were seeing, but the castle at that point was still occupied by their own forces. That makes what happened next even more tragic. So these 20 teenagers turned to each other and agreed to commit seppuku, to die with the best honor they had while their lord and families and everyone was already dead. So if we had 20 teenagers die, that would be bad enough, but that is not the worst of it. So one of these boys was Inuma Sadakichi, and Inuma Sadakichi actually lied about his age to join. He was in fact too young to be a part of the Byakkotai at all. But here he was in this little contingent, and as everyone turned and singly or together committed suicide, he also attempted suicide and failed. And one of the villagers found him, came upon this pile of bodies and one living, found him and aided him, nursed him back to health, and unfortunately was arrested for that crime of helping one of the Aizu warriors. So that's tragic on its own. But Sadakichi, Inuma Sadakichi, grew up, became an engineer and worked in communications, and he served the Japanese government, and he served the military, working for the people who had, working for the group, the entity who had killed all of his people and friends. And I just have to imagine it must have been one of the worst cases of survivor's guilt, because he had been unable to successfully commit suicide with his friends and brothers in arms. But he survived until he was an older man, and at that point he finally revealed what exactly had happened on Imoriyama. Now at the time, the Imperial troops were basically following a scorched earth policy and did not permit burial of the rebel dead. So the villagers who found the bodies and buried them were arrested and punished, which is yet another tragic part of this story. But there's a memorial today, a monument to those who did help by burying the bodies or aiding the one survivor. Today, that spot on the hill is a cemetery, not just for the Byakkotai, but then also for other Aizu soldiers who died in that conflict, and for others since. And there are quite a few memorials to the Aizu dead and to the Byakkotai. Sadakichi is there as well, even though he survived and much later, and much older age, he wanted to be buried with those friends, and so he is there as well. Today there are monuments there donated from all over the world. People from all over come to burn incense, to spend time to appreciate and honor what is considered a defining moment of Bushido spirit. Matsudare Katamari, a later lord of Aizu, wrote a poem to commemorate these Byakkotai dead, and it translates as, "No matter how many people wash the stones with their tears, these names will never vanish from the world." So that is the tragic tale of the Byakkotai. I hope you enjoyed it, as awful as it was, and thank you for joining me for another story time from Japanese history.